Good day, good people. King from Cannonball Co-op, and I'm back here with the Dark and Light Server Manager to give you a more detailed view. So last week, I went through and I showed you how to set this all up and everything, but I was contacted by a good old Anarchy Burger 99, and he asked for a little bit more detailed information. So that's exactly what I'm going to do for you today. See if we can help this guy out, let him and his friends have more fun on their server. So I'm going to go through here step by step, looking at some of the various sections. One thing I do want to show you first, however, is that this is the Dark and Light Server Manager, and this is the Arc Server Manager. They look very similar as I go back and forth here. The main thing you'll notice is that up here I have multiple tabs. That's because I have multiple Arc servers that I like to host and switch between. But enough of that. Let's continue looking at the Dark and Light server now. So I already told you about setting up everything here with your ports and everything like that, putting in a message of the day. So let's go ahead. We've got some server options here. Basically, we have disabling different cheat systems like that. Maybe you need that if you're doing a private server someplace. Generally, though, I like to leave all this stuff on by default. Over here, too, we have Force Low Memory, Force Shader Model, Force DirectX 10. Again, I don't use any of these things, but if you do have a dedicated game server that's got some lower specs, maybe you want to try turning some of these things on. Now, one thing that's interesting over here is I notice when the game starts, it only uses 2 cores. Well, I've got a quad-core system. So we can go ahead and say use all available cores and use cache. What this does is your first load time will be slower, but after that, you will have up to 70% faster load times. So this is something I might recommend checking. The only reason I say might is I am playing around here. I've had some problems with my recording software. This is the 3rd time I'm filming this. I noticed that even when I had these turned on, I was still only launching with 2 cores. So I'm not sure if these really have an effect. And that is why I wanted to point out earlier that this is basically the same thing as the Arc Server Manager. And I suspect that some of the options and things you can change here are simply taken over from the Arc Server Manager and do not actually affect Dark and Light. So you're going to have to play around on these things I'm showing you today with caution and check and see if they work and have the expected effect. And if they don't, you might want to be taking screenshots of the changes you make so that you can restore things back to the way they were. Worst case scenario, you can always hit this little button right here and it will reset everything to the default settings. And the default settings we do know work. Okay, so this next setting is automatic management. Now, this could be really helpful if you've got a dedicated game server that you're hosting and you're not always there, to update it and things like that. So what you can do is you can set it to auto start the server on boot. So this is important, for instance, if the computer doesn't update, Windows doesn't update and it reboots the computer, well then your game server will be offline. So if you set auto start server on boot, that means as soon as the server boots up, then your game will also boot up. Another thing that's important are kind of keeping it updated. And if you wanted to do automatic updates, what you can do is you can say, shut down the server I'll set it here for 3 in the morning. Now keep in mind, this is military time. So if you wanted it to be at 3 in the afternoon, for instance, you'd have to say 15. But we're going to go ahead and set it for 3 in the morning. And I'm going to check this box right here. This is unchecked by default, so you're going to want to check it. It will update the server and then restart it. Now, if you want to have it update once in the middle of the night and once during the day, I could activate this second line, and now it would also update again at 4 in the afternoon if I check that box. I'm just going to leave it for one time. You could also include it in an auto backup cycle. That's something you need to look into more. I use a separate program to back up my my server because I had some problems with this initially. That's some time ago though, so maybe it's better now. If the server is shut down for whatever reason, if it crashes, so not your computer crashes, but if your game server crashes, you could have it set to restart if it's shut down. Good. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at rules. Now, again, as I said, a lot of these things to me feel like they are from Ark. For instance, no survivor uploads. Well, these are things you do at the obelisks, and there are no obelisks in Dark and Light. So I do feel that some of these things, like tribute downloads and tribute uploads, are left over from Ark, and changing them will most likely have no effect on Dark and Light. They could also have an adverse effect on Dark and Light. So you might want to just kind of leave these things as they are. Same goes for the corpse locator. That is something that was added later to Ark. You have this green column of light to help you find your body. But Dark and Light already has this red soul that is floating above your body to help you find it. So again, I wouldn't really play around in here too much. And this also goes a little bit for the tribe alliances. I know you can invite people to tribes, and therefore I would assume you can have tribe alliances. But in Dark and Light, you have the different factions. And as I understand it, elves can't fight elves. They can only fight dwarves or humans, for instance, and however combinations of factions who can fight who. And therefore, I'm not sure if the tribe alliances really make sense. Tribe alliances don't allow someone to ride your mounts or to have access to your stuff. Basically, all they do are prevent your dinos from going nuts and killing them if they accidentally punch something. So it keeps them from being aggressive towards that person. Also, if you do have a mount with 2 seats, that person can ride on the back of that mount with you. At least that's the way it is with the Griffin. I tried that out in Ark. I would assume it would work the same way here. However, I'm not sure if there are multiple seat animals in Dark and Light. So, enable diseases. I also didn't know that there were diseases in Dark and Light. So these are things that you might want to think about before playing with them. Then we've got the chat notifications. So global chat or global voice chat, that would mean someone can talk over voice from across the map. I don't really like that. I like them to have to be close to me to talk to me, so I go ahead and turn that off. Inversely, if I enabled proximity text chat, people would only be able to text if they were close to me. And I think it's nice if I've got a friend on the other side of the map who's like, can at least chat, hey man, I need some help. And then I can go help them out. So I leave those 2 off. And then you have notifications if someone joins or leaves the server. Maybe that's nice, so you can say, oh, my friend just popped on. But if you're playing with Steam, you're going to see that anyway. So for me, this is just more clutter and things that pop up on my screen when I'm filming that annoy me, so I don't activate these. Same thing here now with the crosshairs, hit markers, and floating damage text. You already have a floating damage text by default in Dark and Light. So, and crosshair, you need a crosshair because this isn't first person like Ark. So I personally wouldn't mess with these things, but that's up for you to play with. Gamma. This could be very interesting, however. So you might want to allow players to change the gamma setting in PvP and PvE. This means that they can hit the tab button, type in gamma, followed by a number 3 or 2.5 or whatever gamma setting it is they like. So now we're getting to the interesting stuff, the player settings. So the first thing we have here is enable flyer carrying. This will allow you to pick up other creatures and players when you're in PvE. So I do recommend turning that on. Then we have the XP multiplier. This is going to be how fast you level. You often hear people talking about, I've got a 10 times server or 2 times or 5 times server. This is one of those values they're talking about. So I like to level more quickly because I want to get things done and be able to show it on film, but I don't want to level too quickly. So I just go for a 2 times server. Max XP, why not? You can max that all the way up and you can get as much XP as you like. Damage, now I don't like to be doing more damage than default. That feels too much like cheating. Resistance, also the same thing. However, I hate being out on an adventure or almost getting something tamed and then suddenly being thirsty again. So I like to drop my thirst down to, or my water drain down to 0.5. Now this is one thing to think of too. It's a little bit counterintuitive. You would think if I want it to last longer, I go with a higher number. Doesn't work that way in Ark. Numbers are screwy in Ark, or in this case, Dark and Light. So it's the lower number will help it last longer. So basically it's the speed at which things get used. So if I have it at 1, that's the default. If it's a 2, it would be 2 times as fast, 3 times, 4 times, up to 10, I believe is the default. So we want to slow it down. We're going to put it down to 0.5. So it takes twice as long for me to get thirsty and twice as long to get hungry. And this is a little bit cheaty. I do also make it so that I can run. There's always things that want to eat you, and there's nothing like running out of stamina. So I do make it so I can run a bit longer. I don't go overboard with it, but I do allow myself to run a bit longer. And I also double my health recovery. So that if I do get injured, I heal up a bit faster and can get back in the action rather than sitting in a room nursing my wounds for 30 minutes before I can get out and start filming again. Harvesting damage, this will affect kind of how much your player can harvest. So if I put this to 2, with each hit, I would harvest twice as much. The thing is, I would rather regulate these things down below in the environment settings. And that's the traditional way that everybody does it, and I think the easiest, less confusing way, because otherwise you get different multipliers working with things and then it gets confusing to keep track of stuff. So I would leave that here for now. Base stat multipliers, this means like your starting thing. So you always start with 100 health. Well, maybe you feel like you want all your players to start with 200 health. Well, then you could put this to 2. It would then double what you start with. Again, I would rather have everybody start at the normal base level, and then I would have them level up more quickly or whatnot by upping the percentage here. So I don't play with these personally, but if you feel like it, you can. This could be interesting. I don't play with it, but again, if you want to, you can. And these are the per level stat multipliers. So what that means is, for instance, each time I get a level, my health can go up by 10 points. Well, if I double that, then my health will go up by 20 points. So I could make it so that people can get health and constitution more quickly, but thirst and weight go more slowly. You can kind of adjust it the way you like. I don't do that though. I just leave it at vanilla, and again, I control that through the environment settings and the progression settings and the XP settings. Okay, so now we're moving into the creature settings. And again, we can set the max XP for a creature. Warning here, I do believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that this also will affect the level of wild creatures. So if you max this all the way up, you might have some really powerful creatures out there in the wild that could just really cause you some difficulty. And considering that there's reapers and stuff that can destroy your building as it is, I would be cautious with this, but I upped it to 600. I think that should give you a nice challenge. Damage, I'm going to leave this at vanilla. Then you have another setting, tamed damage. So this is then the damage that your tamed animal would do. So a panther in the wild might do, let's say, 100 damage. Well, once I tame it, if I do this, it would then do 200 damage. Now, that's a very tempting setting to change, because you're like, yeah, I want to have a powerful creature. But my experience is that suddenly you become so godlike, the game gets boring. So rather than change that setting, what I might change would be the resistance setting. So what this will do is it will take you longer for your animal to get killed. So if you have an animal you really like, it's going to take twice as long now for an animal that's attacking it to kill it. But you won't be totally overpowered that you're killing everything in one blow. And what that means is you'll have some more exciting battles, where you really have to work to get that kill, yet you don't have to worry as much about your dino getting wrecked. You should have a chance to see, oh, my health is getting low, and get out of there. So that's what I would recommend would be bumping bumping the tamed resistance. That'll give you some more epic battles and whatnot. Max tamed creatures on the server, 4,500. I think these default numbers are totally fine. If you do have people who really like to collect everything and all the different colors and everything, and they get so many dinos at their bases that it's causing absolute lag. Or that they've so many dinos that other people can't get dinos anymore, then you might tweak with these settings. But I think the default should be just fine. Now, just like I changed the food drain on myself, I do like to change that on my animals as well, because who wants them starving, or who wants to be constantly running around trying to get food for my animals? Stamina drain, again, this is one that's tempting to have, just like I did for myself, but I think here I like to use the vanilla. I like to keep the dinos having a little bit of a risk. And health recovery, you can put this up as well, like I did. Harvesting damage, it's really hard to keep these things in line with what's what. So these are creature spawns. Creature spawns I would leave, especially on Dark and Light. For instance, the V-Rocks, there's this one place down by the ocean where they spawn like crazy. So upping this could have some very adverse effects. Plus there's ways to tweak individual creatures, which I'll show you just a second here. Harvesting damage is, of course, how much they will harvest. An animal's going to harvest 3 times what you do in this case. I think that's pretty much fine. If you want to say we've kind of doubled everything, you know, you could up this to 6 then, and now it's got 2 times harvesting compared to what it had before. But I mean, a 6 times harvest rate, that's going to be a lot. Well, heck, whatever, we'll leave it. These are things now, again, that I'm not sure if they really apply to Dark and Light, like allowing flyers in caves. I haven't come across a ton of caves yet in Dark and Light. Then again, I haven't explored a lot yet either. So these are things, again, I would play with caution. For instance, allow multiple attached C4. There is no C4 in Dark and Light. So I think really that some of these settings are simply taken from the Arc Server Manager and either will not affect your Dark and Light server or could affect it negatively. So as I said before, maybe take screenshots of the settings you're trying out, try them out before you let them loose on the public, and just make sure that it's having the effects you want in the server. Okay, so all the settings we've looked at up to now have been global settings. Now we can look at some individual creature customization. We have different things. We can do the spawn multipliers, the tame damage, tamed resistance, wild damage, wild resistance. And these add columns then here where we have all of our different animals. So as you can see, if you, for instance, if you don't want any Cyclop chieftains in the game, all you have to do is uncheck this box and they will not spawn anymore. Also, let's say you don't want the giant moose to be tameable. Well, you just uncheck this box, it will not be tameable anymore. You can replace animals with other animals. I don't know why you would really want to do that, but maybe you'd rather have, instead of snakes, you'd rather have more centaur shieldmen or something. So you can swap things out as well. That would, in effect, allow you to have different creatures in different areas. The spawn limit then is how much it will spawn. So I could make them spawn twice as many or whatnot. I honestly would not play with these things, especially in the map that's in development, because spawning is wonky as it is, and you start playing in here, it could get even worse. The exception to that might be, for instance, if you're having a real problem with those V-Rocks spawning hundreds of things there, as you saw in my video, then maybe you want to lower their spawn rate, and that might help. Again, you can change the tamed damage and resistance for individual dinos. The change we talked about is exactly what we talked about up above, but here it's for individual dinos. And again, same thing for wild. I personally don't play with any of these things. I leave it the way it is. The only reason I would play with it is maybe a spawn multiplier if I wanted to try to lower the number of spawns on a particular dino that was causing server on my lag or whatnot. Or lag on my server or whatnot. Server on my lag. So as you saw up above, we could also allow stats to change for wild animals or for tamed animals on an individual basis. So with each level, you could get more health instead of just the 10 health or whatever. You could get 20 health by changing that. I, as I've said above, don't really play with these settings, but feel free to do as you wish. Now we're getting to one of the most important sections, the environment section. So here, obvious things, taming speed. I don't have time to wait 3 days for that dino to tame up, so yeah, let's crank that up. Harvest amount. I I think I'll go with just a 2 times, but okay, let's call it a 5 time. No, 2 times server. You can change it as once. Some people like 10 times. Guys like Slipgator who are filming and trying to build tons and tons of stuff all the time, then yeah, you might want to crank this way up. Other people who want the challenge and to go through the progression, they might want that number a little bit lower. Resource respawn. This again has to do with how often things respawn. I leave this at default. The reason for that is if in conjunction with this one here, this is how close things will respawn to you. If I lower this so that things are respawning faster, I could be in a forest chopping down trees and having them spawn right behind me as fast as I'm chopping them down, and that just really takes me out of the immersion. So I don't like to mess with the speed so much. With the player, I don't really mess with the suppression rate either. However, with my buildings, I do like to have things spawn closer back to my buildings. That way, if there's a tree that I liked or a rock that's kind of decorative that spawns next to my building, it comes back if I use it. Also very helpful if you're living in a resource-rich area. That means you'll always be able to go out and mine the things that are right next to your base. So that one I do change. Harvest health. This would mean, for instance, if a tree takes 3 hacks to knock down and I put it up to 2, then it's now going to take 6 hacks to knock it down. So in a sense, that would also double how much you're harvesting, but then you kind of got to keep track of what your harvest amount was. So then you get confusing mathematics going on there. So I just leave this at 1 and I control then the harvest rate here. That's the way most of the servers do it. People talk about, like I said, 2 times, 5 times, 10 times servers. This is the value that they're changing. That's this one right here, which is the harvest amount. You can, again, just like with dinos and everything else, I can set custom harvest amounts for everything. So if I want, if I have just too much charcoal all the time, well, I could lower the harvest amount on charcoal. Or if I would need a lot more bones, I could raise the harvest amount on bones. I leave all that as vanilla. Day cycle speed. Now this one is important, especially if you're filming. The reason is that at nighttime it gets dark and you can't see anything in your videos, and it makes for really bad videos. So I like to have long daytime so that I can be out there, have time for my adventures, and not spend time waiting to continue filming again. There's nothing worse than being out on the middle of a tame or something and then it gets dark and you can't see anything and your video is no good anymore. So this is a little complicated. It works a little bit weird. You have 3 different settings. You have the day cycle speed, the daytime speed, and the nighttime speed. So look at it this way. The day cycle speed is how long it takes for a day to do a complete revolution. Again, if I want it to be longer, I have to go with a lower number. So let's say a day is 24 hours. Well, if I change this to 0.75, now I'm going to have a 30-hour day. And so that's what I like to do. Now, my daytime, though, I want it to last longer. I want it to last twice as long as normal. So I put that at 0.5. And now I have a day that lasts quite long. And for me, a normal night was still kind of too long because I can't film at nighttime. So I actually sped that up a little bit. Not too much, but another little bit by changing that to 1.5. Another thing is spoiling times. Man, do things spoil quickly in dark and light. You know, an apple is only around for a few minutes. So I do like to up that a little longer. That way the food I'm carrying will last a little longer. It helps with the hunger problem and whatnot. So I like to up that up to 5. Global decomposition time. This is one you're going to have to, depends on the type of server you have going on. So I think default, if you throw something down on the ground, it only stays there for 2 or 3 minutes. So if I'm on a low population server with friends and I throw something down on the ground for my friend to pick up, and then he gets a phone call and he's AFK or he's in a menu or whatever, that might disappear before he picks it up. So I like to up this a little bit. However, saying that, if you are on a server where you have tons of people, that means these boxes are going to be laying on the ground everywhere and could even be causing lag problems. So if you're on a high pop server, you might want to leave it where it's at. If you're on a low pop server with friends, maybe you want to make that a little bit longer. The next one is your corpse decomposition time. This is basically how much time you have to be able to find your body and get your gear back. So default, I think, it's maybe like 5 minutes or something, and or less. So that's a bummer because you lose your gear. Nobody likes losing their gear. So I put this all the way up to 10, and at least on my Ark server, putting this up to 10 equals 15 minutes. So I have 15 real life minutes to get back there and get my body, which usually works out just fine, even if you do wind up spawning far away and don't have a mount to get back. You could try typing in 20. I think that higher values still also take effect, so that would give me a half hour to get back and find my body. But I'm not 100% sure on that. You'll have to play with that on your own. Crop decay speed. This is, again, how fast things will spoil on the vine. Seeing as they keep growing as they're spoiling doesn't really matter to me, so I leave it there. Crop growth speed. Dark and light, I think those mushrooms grow pretty slow. So maybe you want to try doubling that. I'll leave that up to you. Lay egg interval. This is in Ark really important for making kibble. You want your guys to be laying eggs a bit more quickly. However, I don't believe there are any eggs in dark and light, so I don't think you need this setting, but you could double it or triple it, or 2 times, 5 times, 10 times, however you're setting your server up. Same thing for pooping. I wouldn't go too high with pooping, otherwise you'll get a house full of poop. Nobody wants a house full of poop. And then we have some earned XP multipliers. So you can set it up so that you earn more XP for crafting, or you earn more XP for killing. I don't think I would play with those. However, if you want to motivate people to join the special events, maybe you would like to offer 5 times XP on the special events or something. Because then people think, oh, I can go there and level up really fast. So, or 2 times, whatever you want to do. You might think about changing this just if you want to motivate people to take part in the special events. Okay, so we've now reached the final section of the server settings, and that is the big one, custom level progressions. So we can enable custom level progressions. As we can see, there's only a max of 61 levels in Dark and Light for the player, and a max of 42 for the creatures. Now, in Ark, this could be really important, because if you were playing on a private server with just a couple friends, 2 or 3 people, you could never get enough experience to unlock all the engrams to be able to enjoy all the different parts of the game. So you needed to be able to add extra levels so that you could experience all that. Now, the thing is, in Dark and Light, it works differently. You don't need to level to unlock new skills. You simply have to craft and work and do things specifically to unlock those skills. So for instance, if I want to improve my archery skill, I need to take my pickaxe and go hack at a bunch of trees and get a bunch of twine and do other things like that specifically for the archer skill. They're not tied to your actual level. So I don't know if there really is a need to play with the player levels, but I will still go ahead and show you how to do that. On the other side, for creatures, it could be interesting to play with the custom levels for the creatures, because maybe you want to be able to get that super amazing, powerful dragon or whatever, and you simply need it to level up more so that you can get enough damage on it or enough health on it or things like that. So I'll go ahead and walk you through these 2 things. Basically, it works the same way. If you want to add an extra level, all you have to do is hit the plus key here, and you scroll down, and it will add a new level here. 62 is now at 65,000. So, hit another one. Level 2 is at 70,000. And let's go ahead for a third one. Level 64 is now at 75,000. Now, I want to show you something here real quick that is, I think, kind of important. So, look at the progression. You go from 402, it's 4, this time it takes 4,000, then it takes 5,000, then it takes 5,500, then it takes 6,000. So as you go up, it takes more and more points to get to the next level. Now, if you just go through here and hit plus, 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 it's always only going to take 5,000 points to the next level. What that means is you're going to burn through these last levels, and you're going to be max level, you're going to be godlike, and you're going to be bored. Or at least that was my case. I was quite bored. And one reason I upped so many levels on my server was because I wanted to have a feeling of progression, like I was doing something. So I would recommend, as you add new levels, to start increasing the jump here. I mean, this is only a jump of a few hundred points, so that's not what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this now up to, let's say, 70. Now watch this. This is an interesting part here. As soon as I switch that to 70 and I click to change the next one, it shifts up. This is sorted not by the level number, but by the number of XP required. So you have to be careful of that, because now if I say here, oh, well, 7,000, I'll just go 7,500 here. Well, I already have 7,500 down at the bottom. So this one I have to change in relation to the one that's at the bottom. So for this one, I want to jump even more. I want to go from 75 to, let's say, 90. And now that one jumps down to the bottom. And so again, I have to adjust this one now. I'm going to make this one 11. And it jumps to the bottom. So just be aware of that, because if you just go plus, 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 plus until you get up to level 100 and then start trying to edit it, it can get really confusing, and you'll have to like start scrolling up and down all the time to try and remember what was the end level that I'm trying to go up from. Yeah, trust me, it's either easier to do it one at a time or in small amounts, or better yet, I have a CSV file with my individual levels that will take me up to level 150. And I will go ahead and upload this someplace and give you guys the links in the down low, so you won't have to enter all this stuff manually. All you have to do is load my custom player progression, and boom, you'll have all the way up to level 150. And I start taking pretty big jumps at the end because, like I said, I wanted to have a feeling of progression, things I'm working for. You can tweak these values as you see fit. If you didn't want a final one, you can just delete it, and you can delete all the way back down to whatever. But we're going to go ahead and put that back in again. Custom player progression, boom. Over here on the Dino, it works the exact same way. Hit plus, and it adds 5,000. Hit plus again, it gives me another one with another 5,000, and that's how that'll go. But we're again going to just use my setting Dino, and boom, you can now get 102 levels out of your dinos. All right, so that's everything. What you're going to do once you got all that done is you're going to hit save. It's going to take a little bit to save. Now all your settings will be saved. And what we're going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and start the server, and I will then join you in game, and we're going to go ahead and test out and see if all these things actually really work. So I'll be back in game in just a minute. Okay, we're here on the test server. I spawned myself in a Nidhogg and a saddle, and I had to start a new character as well, so I have no levels. And we're going to go ahead and see if everything worked the way we think it should. One thing I can tell you is when the server started up, it still only started up with 2 cores, so that use all cores function and the use the cache function may not work here, just so you know. Okay, so now we're going to go and see about giving ourselves experience. So I'll turn the HUD back on so we can see what's going on here. I am level 1. I've got nothing. I have no God mode on or anything like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and give myself experience so I can level up and see if those custom progression levels actually worked out. And here's how it goes. It's quite easy. So you just type in cheat, add experience, space, and then the amount of experience points you want to give. We're going to try just 500 to start. And then you have 2 numbers that follow. So it's a space, 0, space 0, let's say. Now, the thing is that I do believe that the first number refers to me and the second number refers to my mount. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try just to give experience to myself and not to my mount. So let's see what happens if I give myself 500 experience. Perfect. I got 500 experience. My Nidhogg is still at level 12. So we're going to now get on the Nidhogg here. And we're going to try the same thing again. I like being able to see myself. I don't know, I'm just vain. So we're going to go ahead and cheat experience, and my Nidhogg is level 18. Okay, so the Nidhogg got levels, as did I. Let's go ahead and try switching that from a 0 to a 1. Let's see what happens there. The Needhog got levels again. I don't appear to be getting levels. Let's go ahead and up that a little bit to make it a little more clear if we're both getting levels. Go to 1,000. The Needhog is going up. I am not, however. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and put that on 1 and 1. The Needhog went up again. I did not. And let's go ahead and put it on 0 and 0. Okay, that time we both went up. And now we want to see if we've... So wait, what did we learn here? So basically we've learned if I do just a 0, 1, for instance, my Needhog goes up, but I do not. If I do a 1, 0, my Needhog still went up, and I did not, right? No. Now, if I do a 0, 0, we both went up. There you go. So 0, 0 puts us both up. And let's try 1, 1. Only the Needhog went up. Interesting. So, okay, I am now level 21. We want to see if those extra levels work. So we're going to use the 0, 0. That will give levels to both you and your mount. And we're going to go ahead and throw a couple zeros on the end here and see what happens. There you have it. I'm level 139. Okay, so we now know that the custom progression levels do work if you set them up in the server manager. And if you want to give yourself some experience, all you have to do is type in cheat, add experience, the amount of experience you want, and then 0, 0 or 1, 1. If you're not on a mount, then you will get experience. If you're on a mount and you just want to give the mount experience, then you can do add experience 0, 1. Or if you want to give both your mount and you experience, add experience 0, 0. Do believe that's how that worked. If not, go back and look at the video again. If you like what you saw here today, do hit that like button. I had to put a lot more work into this than expected. And if you want to see more, hit that subscribe button. As a matter of fact, go ahead and hit that subscribe button anyway, because as of the time of this recording, I am only 28 subscribers away from getting my own named YouTube channel. That would be great if you could give me a hand there. And finally, as always, goodbye, good people, and I'll catch you when I catch you.